Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all my listeners. I want to welcome you, ladies and gentlemen, to the Talking Football with Akila Roberts podcast. Today, I have a very extremely special guest. This guy is a retired football player, hails from the Bahamas, currently an actor, a SAG accredited actor. He's done plenty of films and plays and all that. He's an amazing father of three. He just had a third child. And most importantly, my older brother. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you. I want to introduce you guys to Anthony Roberts II. And what's up?
How's it going, Akilo? How you doing?
I can't complain, man. It might rain tomorrow, man.
Great.
I'm doing real good, man. First off, like I said, you just became a father for the third time, man. How does it feel, man? To be
Oh
after
wow.
kids?
Yeah, I really never ever thought I would have three kids. I always thought maybe one, but three. I mean, it's a blessing. They all have different personalities. I love them all. And they're all they're different, unique ways. They show me love in different ways. I show them love in different ways. The things they want to do. So it's about spending time with them together, as a family, but then also giving each one of them their own individual, attention, which can be tough, sometimes. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I'm really ecstatic, really happy, really feeling really blessed. Me and the wife are really happy. We had two boys first, and now we have our girl finally. So yeah, she's 2 weeks old now.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so not a whole lot of sleep going on inside the Roberts household.
For real. Now with that, you have three kids, but this is your first girl. Does the parenting style change? I mean, because father boys we're always protective of our girls.
Yeah, I don't think the parenting style changes.
Mhm.
I think maybe how you view the world differently changes. I think that definitely takes hold. How you see things a lot differently. When you have a daughter, because you see things in black and white. Because when you have a son, because I'm a male, so I have two males, so I only see it one way. Then you
Yeah.
have a daughter, and it's just like, oh, that's what they mean. And you see the whole equality movement and the whole Me Too movement and stuff like that, and you realize like,
Yeah.
wow, like I would be devastated, if something like that was to happen to my daughter. So you just see the world, you just see the whole world, totally different.
hmm That's real, man. It's very real. So, and we're gonna go back, right? We're gonna go all the way back to the '80s. You were born in the early '80s, and
Oh,
in the Bahamas. I'm not gonna say the year, so don't worry. But in the Bahamas, tell us about your childhood in the islands.
yeah, so I'll age myself. Yeah, I was born in '82. Grew
Okay.
up in the '80s in the Bahamas,
Yeah.
in a place called Nassau Village in Nassau. So yeah, it was, for me, it was a typical childhood. We didn't, when I lived with my grandmother, my mom,
Mhm.
it was kind of more of like the countryside. So we didn't have any running water or like electricity or like indoor plumbing. So, we had outhouses, we had candles. But for me, that was my life. That was for me, that was a beautiful experience. I would go outside, climb trees, go outside to race neighborhood kids, go swimming, try to go to the beach as much as possible. So yeah, for me, I didn't see a difference. For me, for me outside, making slingshots, making scooters, making basketball rims out of like milk crates, stuff like that. So for me, it was, I got that total island experience. You know what I mean? It was beautiful, very, very, very beautiful. I remember one summer my parents had sent me to one of the family islands off in the Bahamas called Morris Island. And for me, that was one of the greatest experiences of my life.
I
Just
for that.
being being able to fish, being able to go swimming anytime I want to, building boats that I can like actually go on and
Oh
and
wow.
like a row.
Mhm.
So it was very exciting. Very exciting.
Mhm. Now, one thing earlier, you said that you were no running water, electricity, and all type of stuff. It's crazy. Like me, I've been to the Bahamas a million times, and I'm pretty sure a lot of my listeners have been to the Bahamas on vacation too. The Bahamas is so touristy and so like advanced now. To hear that there was no electricity only like 30, 40 years ago, that's crazy to me.
Yeah, and that part of Nassau Village,
Mhm.
we hadn't really gotten, light or anything like that yet, because that part of Nassau was still kind of undeveloped. Now it's developed now. There's light, there's power, there's plumbing, there's all that stuff all over there now in that part of Nassau. But at that point in the 80s, we were still a developing nation, So, and even now we're still developing. So, yeah. Yeah.
Now, earlier, just now, you just said that you were talking about running and swimming. In your early formative years, what was your sports activity like?
So for me, I used to run track. I used to do swim meets.
Mm-hmm.
And in my school in track, I was probably the second or third fastest person in my entire school. So yeah, I was pretty fast. I ran the 100 meters and I ran the 4x1. So it was pretty exciting. I want to say I ran the third leg of the 4x1. So that was really, really exciting. Running the 4x1 and running 100, and then having our field day and having a whole bunch of ribbons and medals and stuff like that. So yeah, that's pretty much what I did. Away from school, basketball was the main thing over there in the Bahamas. Obviously, we have a few players now that play in the NBA, a few number one picks.
Yeah.
But for me, basketball, yeah, definitely. Basketball really wasn't that fun. And I can tell, I was athletic, but basketball wasn't able to fully use my full athleticism. I wasn't fully able to use my full athleticism playing basketball, I would say. Because I just didn't like it. I wasn't tall enough. I wasn't quick enough to dribble the ball. Those kinds of things. So yeah.
Yeah. So also we're gonna go up a little further, and around like age 9 or 10, you moved to Miami, Florida, to the United States of America. What was that adjustment like? What was your first night in America like?
Oh my gosh, it was brutal. It was brutal. It was 1991, dropping off an 8-9-year-old in Miami, Florida. The summer, came over here. The very first night, stayed at my aunt's house. As soon as it turned dark, I literally cried for like hours. Like I wanted to go back home. I didn't like it over here. My aunt had to call my mom and dad, and they called me. They placated me. Oh, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. But I did not want to be over here. I missed all my friends, missed all my family, all my cousins over there. So it was brutal. And that first year, I went for fourth grade to a school called Gloria Floyd Elementary.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. I had some friends there. You know what I mean? It was a neighborhood school. Had some friends there. It was pretty cool. No bullying and anything going on there. I was pretty, from when I went there, you could tell, looking back on it, I was athletic in PE. Playing kickball, playing football a little bit, stuff like that. So I can tell that I was pretty good at football at that point in fourth grade when I started playing it. At Gloria Floyd, like, oh, I'm really good at this game. I can catch, I can throw, I'm fast, I'm quick, those kinds of things. So yeah.
Now, your first year there, did you experience any bullying being from the island?
No, not that first year, but that second year, after Gloria Floyd, my fourth grade year, the summer of 1992, Hurricane Andrew hit. And that destroyed.
Wow.
Yeah, that destroyed pretty much all of South Florida. So,
especially like South Dade, Richmond Heights, that area, it was flattened.
Yeah, it was flattened. It's Homestead, all flattened. So my mom, we moved up north to North Miami. And when I went to North Miami, I transferred to a school called W.J. Bryant Elementary for fifth grade. So up there was where I really experienced the bullying per se, making fun of my accent, stuff like that, making fun of, my clothes, the way I dressed, stuff like that, which wasn't different. It was just, maybe I wasn't wearing the expensive labels or the cool clothes or whatever, you know what I mean? I was only wearing what my parents could afford, So yeah, it was tough, but I was able to make it through, being bullied and talking about it, obviously I stuttered as well. And I was bullied, but I also gave it back. That was one thing I say looking back on it, like I may have been bullied, but I stood up for myself. So yeah, and I remember till this day, this one guy. So there was this one guy. His name was Lesval. Lesval. I don't remember his last name, but
Lesball?
yeah, he was pretty. He was always like emotionally unstable. I would say. He was always like edgy. Like one day he may be your friend, the next day he may not be. But one day we were walking home from school one day, and he said something to me, and I said something back. I can't remember what it was. But then all of a sudden, he pulls out a ninja star. He starts chasing me down Biscayne Boulevard. I'm like, yo, where did he get a ninja star from? And he's chasing me with it.
He was Naruto?
Yeah, and he's on Biscayne, and he's wearing a Malcolm X hoodie with a big X on his shirt. I'm like, yo, this is the weirdest thing ever. Lesval chasing me with a ninja star on Biscayne Boulevard.
Yeah, it's funny because you said Biscayne Boulevard. Biscayne Boulevard now is like Broadway in New York City.
Yeah.
It's like a major thoroughfare. So back then, like 92, 93, it had Biscayne Boulevard had to be like super slow for you to like be chased like that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, most definitely, most definitely. And for me, Lesval, like some days we'll walk home, and on the way home, there was like this magic shop that was on the way home. Mm-hmm. So every day we would stop in there and look at like some of the magic stuff. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, mom, she would like give me a few extra dollars to buy stuff. So sometimes I would buy like the insect in the ice cube, the fake one. Yeah. Or I'll buy like the gum where you pull it out and it snaps your finger.
Oh yeah.
Or like, I would buy different things like that. So yeah, sometimes we were cool like that. And then other days he would chase me on Biscayne with a ninja star, Yeah. So, and for me, the main thing I remember going into that magic store, and it was always empty, and it was always just me and Lesval, or when me and him left, it would be other kids coming in. And I would always think about, I don't know if you remember this, but there was an episode of Different Strokes where Arnold and his friend went to a bike shop, and the bike shop guy was like really, really friendly to them. Mm-hmm. And Arnold wanted to leave, but his friend wanted to stay. And it was like an NBC, like safety. It was like a safety episode, yeah. And the kid ended up being like molested by the bike shop owner.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that I've always been like, even going into the magic shop, I always thought about like stuff like that. Like, man, like I'm gonna buy the stuff, but I'm leaving. I'm not staying there. So I've always been kind of like safety first at all times, as it pertains to stuff like that. But going back to WJ Bryan though, there was this, as far as bullying, there was this other this other group of guys who would bully me. They were called the DCs. I don't know why the DCs, but the DCs. But they were called they call themselves the DCs, the gang. Mm-hmm. But for me, anytime they bully me, they would get mad because I would call them the Dickhead Corporation because they were acting like dickheads. So they got mad whenever I would say that. Oh, you a dickhead. You call it the Dickhead Corporation, like. So they would get mad about that, and like, don't bully me. If you bully me, I'm gonna defend myself, and I'm gonna talk back to you. Like, it is what it is, But the bullying stopped a little bit when one day we were playing PE, and football was the first sport for PE, and I was the last to be picked, but they didn't know that I was good in football because the previous year at my first school, Gloria Floyd, everybody knew I was kind of good in football, but they didn't know. And I was super excited. I was just like, oh yeah, I'm about to get in here. I'm about to wreck shop. They have no idea what's about to go down. So I get in, they pick me last. Yeah. Man, picks, interceptions, touchdown, knocking down passes, covering people. Like, after that day, I was always picked first. Oh, we want Ant. So that kind of, as in all schools, if you play sports, if you're good at sports, you kind of have a level of respect and a level of, okay, let's not mess with that guy because, it is what sports brings people together, you know what I mean? So that kind of helped a little bit. And then, I had friends at the school, who were pretty cool. as a matter of fact, one of my classmates who was one of my friends at school at WJ Bryant.
Yeah.
It was him and his brother, David Williams. He ended up signing with the University of Miami like 9 years later. And then his brother, Peyton Williams, ended up signing with FIU. Like FIU's first signing class, he signed with them. He was like their diamond signee. Like he was like their top signee.
Oh wow.
He had, and his brother, he had like Ohio State, LSU, NC State. They were all after him, and he ended up signing with FIU. So yeah, looking back on it, it was just like, oh wow, these guys signed with those schools. Like I actually went to like WJ Bryant with them in North Miami.
Yeah.
So and as fate would have it too, at WJ Bryant was my first year playing organized football. I played at a park called Cagney Park, which is right across the street from North Miami High School.
Okay.
Which I think when I say it's an apartment complex, they knocked down that park and put like offices there, I think.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
That's
so
great.
it's literally right across the street from North Miami High School. So I played football in my first year for organized football. The Cagney Park Lions. We had blue jerseys. I had the white helmet, like the plastic face mask, the old like plastic face mask. I had the one ring, like the punter.
Yeah, like old school players.
Yeah, like Reggie Roby. If anybody knows who Reggie Roby is, a punter for Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I played outside linebacker and defensive end. And it was exciting, getting trucked, getting run over because I didn't know how to tackle. I didn't know how to how do you tackle?
Yeah.
So that was an adjustment period for me. That first year playing football and understanding it and understanding like, when you hit somebody, it hurts, So yeah.
So back then, most people, maybe our younger listeners don't know. Back then, elementary school ended in sixth grade. So what school did you go to? Did you go to WJ Brown for sixth grade also?
Now for sixth grade, I went to Frank C. Martin. So we moved back. So after my fifth grade year, we moved back down south. We moved back down south to the Richmond Heights area. And I went to Frank C. Martin for sixth grade.
What was Frank C. like?
Oh, Frank C. Man, it was pretty cool, man. It was really exciting. I was back in my element. I still knew a few people from Frank C. Martin from Gloria Floyd. Like, oh yeah, you went to Gloria Floyd when I was in fourth grade. Now it's sixth grade. So that's pretty exciting. That's where I really learned. That's why I really learned how to play football because that year I continued playing Optimus. I played Pop Warner that year for Richmond Giants, which Richmond Heights Giants football program is, legendary.
Hey, for the listeners that don't know, the Richmond Giants Pop Warner program single-handedly has probably put out like 50, 60 NFL players.
Oh yeah.
They just won a national championship probably like what 2016, 2017?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, three of their players are actually playing stars right now. One, Leonard Taylor, he plays defensive tackle for the Miami Hurricanes. Jason Marshall, he's already starting at corner for the Florida Gators. And Corey Collier Jr., he plays safety for the Florida Gators as well. So that's crazy. Yeah, Richmond Giants, they're a really storied Pop Warner program. So so sixth grade, what was it like playing for Richmond Giants?
So Richmond playing that first year, my coach was Coach Peaches. God rest his soul. He passed away years back. But Coach Peaches, and he really liked coaching. He really liked the players. It was all about like teaching us the right thing and playing hard, and it was all for a purpose. I played 105 pounds, nice. And I played O-line and D-line. I played offensive guard. I played left guard. I still remember my number. I was number 61. And I still remember it because for people who don't know, when you play Pop Warner down south, we go by weight.
Yeah.
So before each game, the opposing team will have like a binder with your picture and like your weight and your height, and they would go by and they would go and and certify that, oh, this is that player and he does weigh that much. So everybody had to come up on the scale and step on the scale and be like Anthony Roberts or whatever. So I would be, Anthony Roberts, number 61, offensive guard. And that's how I still remember them, in my head. So yeah, but that year we went 0-10. The rest of the park, everybody else was good. The 65 pounders, the 85 pounders, the 90 pounders, the 120s, the 140s. Everybody was good except for us. We went 0-10. We had the best talent. We had some of the best talent, hardest working players, but everybody wanted to do their own thing. So everybody really wants to do their own thing. Oh, I want to pass the ball. I want to run the ball. If you call a punt, the person who's punting the ball also plays running back. He doesn't punt the ball. He just decides to run the ball, like stuff like that. Like we would lose, and we would play teams like Liberty City, Sunnyland, Florida City, South Dade, stuff like that. Hammocks, Kendall hammocks. So yeah, it was that first year, the sixth grade. It was brutal playing with them, but I worked really hard. I learned I really learned the game of football doing that, playing offensive guard, and I still have my trophy till this day. I was actually the offensive line MVP that year.
So you were good.
I was good. Yeah, I was good. I was a good blocker. Hands up, pass block. Hands up, pass block.
Did anybody from that team on the 105 team make it go D1 or to the NFL?
Let me see. I can't think of anybody from that team that went D1 or made it to the league. I can't think of anybody that year. But my seventh grade year, I tried after going 0-10 that first year. I decided to transfer across 152nd, to play for South Dade Rams. So Richmond and South Dade, obviously the big rivals because they're separated by 152nd. Yeah. So I want to play with a team that won. So I decided to go to South Dade Rams. And as it happened, we weren't good that year either. At South Dade, I think we may have went like 5-5 or something like that, 4-6. But we were very talented, very, very talented. So when I transferred there for seventh grade, I tried to stay down to play older but lighter. So pretty much, I'm in seventh grade. I still want to play 105s, but I have to weigh less weight. So for like the first 3 games of the season, I played on the 105s, but I eventually had to move up. But those first three games in the preseason, I actually had one of the greatest athletes that ever played the sport, and Sean Taylor playing on my team. Yeah.
You play with ST26?
Yeah, played with ST. Yeah, 105 pounds. South Dade for like 3 games, and I had to move up to 120.
Wow. So first off, my listeners, if you don't know who Sean Taylor is, you probably wouldn't even be listening to his podcast. But Sean Taylor, one of the greatest players in University of Miami history. Probably would have been one of the greatest players in NFL history. His life was tragically cut short in 2007. Tell the people, man, what was it like playing with a young ST?
My gosh, talk about intense, brutal hitter, passionate for the game, never give up attitude, wants to make plays, takes the game serious, plays with emotion, plays with spirit. All those things that you saw from him as he got to high school, as he got to the U, as he got to the Redskins, all those things that I saw in him playing alongside him, playing 105s for those first 3 or 4 games, to seeing him when he got to the Redskins, it was just like, wow, all those things I saw as a child, he still had these things, all the passion, hitting ability, speed, quickness, the intelligence to play the game, all these different things. And for us, he was the best player on the team for us. He was our best player. His number was number 30. He had the number 30. He played a fullback and he played linebacker. And I played defensive end. I played defensive end outside linebacker that year. So yeah, it was really, really exciting. I till this day, I remember vividly this one day during 105 practice. I don't know for your listeners, if now I think it's outlawed now, obviously, the Oklahoma drill and all that. But this drill was called Bull in the Ring. We had a drill called Bull in the Ring where there'd be one player in the middle and all the team would circle around him. And then the coach will call out the player who's coming to hit the play in the middle. So Sean was in the middle one day, and the coach was calling out the players to go and hit Sean. And the coaches knew when they saw, from how they was coaching, that Sean's the best player. I always go back to what Jimmy Johnson says. Jimmy Johnson says, yeah, I'm going to treat all my players fairly, but you're not equal. So that means that I'm gonna treat all the players fairly, but you're not equal. If I have a star, I've got to treat my star different because he's, you know what I mean. I'm gonna treat you fairly, but you're not equal. And you can tell, like the coaches, they treated all the players equal. I mean, they treated all the players fair, but we weren't equal to Sean. You know what I mean? But I just remember this one day, Sean was in the middle. The coach called out all offensive linemen to come and hit him. My gosh, what a collision that was. I saw that hit. I said, yeah, he's a beast. I'm not hitting him. I'm not going against him. He's a beast. He's a monster. Yeah, he could play. I see why the coaches like him, because he could play. He could play. So the first three games we were playing pretty good. I think we were 3-0. Sean played fullback and linebacker. So he must have scored like 10 touchdowns. Ridiculous. Running people over. And even till this day, he played with the same face mask, the same, down south we call it a blind man.
Yeah.
The face mask he had. And he played with the same visor. But the visor was yellow though, because South Bay Rams, we were yellow and blue.
Yeah.
His visor was yellow.
Like
so
Miami, he had the green and orange joint.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he played with that. We started out 3-0. And at that point, I was just like, man, I'm doing too much to like stay underweight. Like, 105s was 105s, but I was like weighing between like 108 and 109. So every week I would have to try to lose 4 pounds just to play 105s. So finally I just gave up and said, man, I'm always like 3 or 4 pounds overweight before a game day. And I have to like, not eat anything the night before, like 2 days before, and don't drink any water to try to like lose like just 2-3 pounds of water weight. I'm just going to move up, man, to 120s. And even though I realized I was smaller playing 120s because everybody else was closer to 120 and I was still like 109, 108. So it was still, I just decided to move up to 120s for like the 4th game of the season. And I moved up and I immediately started again at defensive end outside linebacker. And talk about that first practice at 120s. Whoo, boy, they baptized me. My goodness.
What happened?
Man, just running me, doing Oklahoma drills, doing bull in the ring. Like we're going to bring out 105s today. We're going to show them what we do at 120s. So yeah, that was tough. That was rough. That was a rough day. That was a rough day of practice. I would say that was the first time in my life where I look at football and just like, I don't know if I could do this.
Yeah, man. Those Oklahoma drills will make you a man.
Oh yeah. But I stuck it through though. Eventually I liked it, and and then I learned how to hit. I learned how to be aggressive and hit and stuff like that. So yeah.
So you played 105, 120. Besides Sean Taylor, did anyone that you played with from that team make it to the D1 or NFL?
I want to say there may have been a few people that did make it D1 that year from that team. I want to say there was a linebacker that ended up going to Coral Reef, I think, that made it to Buffalo, I believe.
Oh, wow.
But I think there were a few other people that made it D1. No one really made it to the NFL like Sean Taylor did, but I mean, Sean Taylor's one in a generational kind of a player. He was blessed by God with that, with that athletic ability. God bless the dead.
Yeah, for real. So also, this is all happening in 7th grade, right?
Yeah, 7th grade.
All right, for the listeners that don't know, for people that might be on the younger side, back then middle school was 7, 8, 9. So this would have been your first year of middle school. What middle school did you go to?
7th grade, I went to Arvida Junior High, Arvida Middle. So yeah, in Arvida we had players from all neighborhoods that went to that school. So for instance, at that school, we had players wearing. So every Friday, kids, guys, we would wear our Pop Warner jerseys to the game. So every Friday, you would see like, wow, we really have a diverse group of people that are going to Arvida. So you would see South Dade, you would see Richmond Giants jerseys. You would see Sunnyland jerseys. You would see Tamiami jerseys. You would see Kendall Hammocks jerseys. And you would see what's it called, K-Land jerseys. So yeah, we had a really mixed, diverse group of students that played there.
What's K-Land?
K-Land, I think that's off of that's all. What's the name of that street that I think what's the name of that street that's on the hospital? Baptist is on what street?
Oh, 88.
Baptist Hospital. It's on
Kendall
where?
Drive.
Kendall
88 Kendall
Drive.
Drive.
Yeah. So
Oh,
yeah, Kendall Drive.
Oh, over there.
Yeah, so there's a park over there on Kendall Drive, right before you get to the Palmetto overpass, like drive under it. There's a park right there to the right hand side.
Oh, yeah, I know the park. I know the park. Yeah.
Yeah, there used to be a Tony Roma's used to be over there too, I think.
Oh, Tony Roma's.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a 7-Eleven over there too, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. What was I say? So besides South at Arvada, you went to Arvada for 7th and 8th?
Yeah. So for 7th and 8th grade, it's my 8th grade year.
Sweet.
So my 7th grade year, I played at South Dade.
Mm-hmm.
We were kind of good, 4 and 5. And then my 8th grade year, I'm like, man, I went 0-10, 6th grade year. I went 4 and 5, 7th grade year. And here's the funniest thing. So I left Richmond to play at South Dade.
Mm-hmm.
When I went to South Dade, all the guys I played with the 105s, they were now up to 120s. And they were good that year.
Oh, wow.
So the same guys I played with the 105s, they moved up just like I moved up, but they got good.
Yeah.
So we were good that year. So if I would have stayed at Richmond, I would have been good with the 120s.
Yeah.
But I left my guys thinking, man, we losing, man. I can't play with these guys because everybody wants to do their own thing. So I left. And they got good. And I'm just like, I was kicking myself, like, why did I leave? I would have been starting with them. I would have been playing. We would have been like undefeated. Mm-hmm. And I just said, you know what? Let me go back to Richmond and do it that way. And let me just go back and play there. So for 8th grade year, I went back to Richmond. Mm-hmm. I went back to Richmond. And I actually went back to Richmond Giants. I played for 8th grade year, but I had signed up for football so late into camp that the games are already getting ready to start. And they kind of didn't know what position they wanted me to play. I really wanted to play safety. Mm-hmm. I remember telling mom and dad, they were asking me, so how's football going and whatnot? How's practice going? Like, we can't wait to see you at the games. And I was telling them, like, hey, you know, I really don't get to play. Like, they're not putting me out on the field to practice, and all I'm doing is doing drills. But like, when it comes time to like play and like practice against the team, against the offense, I'm not out there playing. Like, they don't have a position for me. And they were like, what position do you want to play? And I'm like, well, I play outside linebacker and defensive end these past two. Well, my first year at Richmond, I played O-line, but last year I played defense. I played outside linebacker and defensive end. I really like playing that. Yeah. But I think I'm fast enough where I can play safety. So I want to play safety. So they said, okay, we're gonna go to the park. We're gonna talk to the coach and let him know that you want to play safety. So they told them, hey, I want to play safety. So the very next day of practice, I came in and coach was just like, I'm looking for a safety. Who wants to play safety? Who wants to play safety? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, hey, I want to play safety. Mm-hmm. So he let me play safety. And my 8th grade year didn't go the way I want. That year at Richmond, that team is really, really, really good. I think we went like 10. We went like undefeated. I think we lost like in the first round to Liberty City. In the first round of the playoffs. You know, Liberty City, that's a legendary program. Liberty City Warriors.
People don't know. Yeah. People don't know they had that TV show on, I think, Netflix or HBO.
Yeah, Netflix. Yeah.
Yeah. So
if you Google Liberty City Warriors and see like NFL alums, it's like a who's who of NFL. I know that you're a Big Red insider in the coronation for all like the Big Red people. Mm-hmm. Liberty City, there's a famous linebacker that went to Liberty City Warriors that went to the West and went to Nebraska. Played for Liberty City Warriors.
Levante David.
He played for Liberty City Warriors. Mm-hmm. So there's that connection to going back to you being coronation insider, you know. Levante David played.
I'm still a Nebraska fan, but I'm no longer coronation. We usually agree to part ways.
Okay.
I was gonna say, so the 8th grade year, you guys were undefeated. Did anybody play with on that team? Did they go D1, make the NFL?
Oh man, so there was a lot of guys that went off, you know, for Richmond Giants and South Dade Rams. Those were the two feeder schools for two programs, for Miami Killian and for Miami Southridge. So those two those two schools fed football players. Those two Part 1 programs fed football players into those high schools. Obviously, South Ridge also had South Kendall and Goulds
Yeah.
and South Miami Heights and all that fed the football program.
Mhm.
But for South Dade, and Richmond, they both fed South Ridge as well and Killian for football. So yeah, during that time, there was a lot of players. I would think, looking back, such a long time ago, but I'm
Yeah.
sure there was a few players here and there that went Division I from that actual squad, that
Mhm.
140s year, because we was deep, man. We was deep. We was big. We were
Mhm.
strong. We were fast. Like some of the guys on that 140s team, I till this day I still can't wow, like these guys were huge and they were fast from like 140s. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Besides that, I know you went to Arvada. Did anybody from Arvada, because Arvada had like guys from all over different programs playing it, going to school there? Did anybody at Arvada make it to go D1 or NFL?
Yeah, so there was a couple of guys that made it D1 from Arvada. Yeah, there was a lot of guys from Arvada that made it D1. I think of from a lot. So around this time in the mid '90s, in the mid to late '90s, Florida State had a stronghold at Miami Killian. So a lot of the Arvada guys, like for me, because I would have been a Killian guy if I would have stayed where I lived in Richmond Heights. I would have been a Killian guy. So Florida State had a stronghold on Killian guys. So a lot of guys from Killian went to Florida State. There was a couple that went to Mizzou. Some went to I think Virginia Tech, UVA. So yeah, but mainly Florida State really had a stronghold on Killian guys. There was also two actually offensive linemen that actually ended up signing with Ohio State too, from Killian.
Okay.
Yeah, so he actually started in the full circle in the pass interference game with Sean Taylor, where with the whole with
the Fiesta Bowl, right?
With the referee threw the flag. The game is over, man. Still this day, that's a fluke championship Ohio State got. They should not have won that.
Yeah,
that would have been two championships for the U, back to back.
Yeah, no, for real. What was I gonna say? What did you go to school? Because you said Killian had FSU had a struggle on Killian. Did you go to school? Derek Gibson?
I didn't go to school with Derek Gibson, but my ninth grade year, I would have went to school with Derek Gibson my ninth grade year, because my ninth grade year he was a senior, but I didn't go to Killian because my parents had moved, so I went to a different high school.
Yeah.
But my ninth grade year, I would have played. I would have been on JV, and he would have been a senior, and I probably would have got moved up to varsity. You know what I'm saying, after ninth grade. Because JV, you play like 5 or 6 games, but the varsity season is still going on, and usually they move players up for varsity after the JV season. They move up a whole bunch of players.
Yeah. I was gonna say. For the people that don't know, Derek Gibson, he's a safety at Florida State University from Miami, Florida. Played at Miami Killian High School. He first round draft pick for the Oakland Raiders. Played the league for a minute. He's currently back at Miami Killian as a head coach. So that's real cool. So just for people that don't know who he is. So also for the listeners that don't know, that might not know, back then, like I probably said already, middle school back then was 7, 8, 9. So for ninth grade, what middle school did you go to?
So my mom and dad, they moved, and they were looking at 2 homes. One that would have kept me in the Miami Killian district, and another one that would have kept me in the South Ridge district. So for me, I said, man, that's a win-win. I want to play ball. I want to play football. Those are the two best football programs down south.
Yeah.
Killian or South Ridge. You playing football down south, you go to Killian or you go to South Ridge. And I said, man, this is a win-win situation. You know what I'm saying? Killian or South Ridge, you can't beat that. You know what I mean? And at this time, you know what I'm saying, the Davis brothers was wrecking shop. The Davis brothers is well known. You know what I'm saying? Troy Davis and Darren Davis.
Yeah, they were like, I don't know, Troy Davis played running back at Iowa State, one of the greatest running backs in NCAA history. What school did Darren Davis go to?
They went to Iowa State.
Oh, both of them?
Both of them went to Iowa State. Remember Troy Davis finished, I think, like second for the Heisman Trophy one year?
Yeah. Yeah, he was a beast.
He was a beast. Yeah. So for me, playing Pop Warner, we always heard about, oh, Killian Southridge, Killian Southridge. Southridge got the Davis boys. They always got a linebacker. They always got good defense. And Killian was always like, that's the neighborhood school. Oh, Killian got this. Killian. So it was just like, you know what? I'm going to win going to either school, man. Yeah. And mom and dad, they were asking me, so which one do you like? Which one, you know, about as far as the home? And for me, I loved Killian, to go to Killian to play with my friends, but it was something, man, about that all black, man, and being a Spartan. Something about that all black. I just want to wear that all black, man. For me, it was just like, man, I want to go to Southridge. So I told them, look, I really like this school. I mean, I really like this house in this district. Not really. I just like, because I want to play for Southridge. I'm like, I want to play for Southridge. So I didn't tell them that. I just told them, like, yeah, I like this house in this district. When really in my mind, it's just like, I want to go to the Ridge. I want to play for the Ridge. I want to be a Spartan. You know what I'm saying? And I went right. They didn't veer left, but they made a U-turn, and we went to and they bought a house in the district for Palmetto. I'm like, what? What? Palmetto? Oh my gosh! I'm like, you're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me. You're killing me, Smalls. Palmetto?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to go to Killian or Southridge. Like, come on. So they bought a house in the Palmetto district, and Palmetto at that point, like you said, junior middle school was 7th, 8th, and 9th. So for 9th, I went to Palmetto Middle School, and that kind of set back my development in football, because 9th grade it was at a middle school, so we couldn't play JV. So because we wasn't at a high school, we were still at a middle school.
So you couldn't play Pop Warner?
I couldn't. I could have played Pop Warner, but I would have had to lose tons and tons of weight. I could have played 140s, but at that point I was already weighing like 165, 170.
Oh wow, okay, yeah.
So I'm just like, man, for me to play 140s in 9th grade, my freshman year in high school to still play Little League, I would have to lose 15, 20 pounds because my body was already developing, putting on weight. So I'm just like, I'm not going to do that, man. Like that's an entire waste of time. So my development as far as the game of football really, really, really fell back a little bit. Whereas all my friends from 8th grade, they actually went to high school and they played JV in 9th grade. I didn't. All my friends, they played JV at Killian or they played JV at Southridge. I didn't. I went to Palmetto Middle, so I didn't play 9th grade football. So yeah, that kind of, I would say looking back on it as far as my football career, you know, you can kind of look back, you know, hindsight's 2020. But you can kind of look back and see where some of the decisions you feel like, man, I wish I would have pushed harder to do something different. I think things would have went someplace different. But you know, everything happens for a reason. You know, look where I am now. So, yeah.
So by this point, are you still experiencing any bullying from being fresh from the Bahamas?
Nah, I'm done with bullying. Yeah, I'm done with bullying. Around this time, bullying, I you know, in 7th, 8th grade, you know, I was down for a fight. You know what I mean? I was down for like talking back trash or doing whatever I gotta do, you know, talking back trash or, you know, whatever it is. So, you know.
So that's in the middle school right there. And then we're gonna go up here. Palmetto High School.